And we have seen that overall AI-referred web sessions jumped over 500% year over year in 2025. I don't even want to check how it is for 2026.
So on Google, you compete to be clicked. That's a fact. And on AI, you compete to be chosen. So this is already happening now. And we're seeing that close to half of users now prefer AI interface. AI is compressing the journey. And just for you to know, 94% of AI users stayed within AI. People in the LLMs tend to just keep people within AI and don't want people just to go outside or click on links.
Welcome to Decoding Oblivion. Today I'm joined by Loïs Guilhou, Head of Sales at Geonimo and previously organizer of NFT Paris, the biggest NFT event worldwide, and Pierre-Louis Jérôme, who spent 6 years in the e-com data analytics industry, and today he's the co-founder of Geonimo, a platform that helps brands and agencies understand and improve how they appear in AI-generated search results across ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews. As search behavior shifts drastically towards AI, Geonimo is building the infrastructure that helps marketers stay visible in a world where the algorithm is no longer a list of blue links, but a conversation. We are going to unpack what GEO actually means, why most brands are completely invisible in AI search right now, and what can you do about it? Hi everyone, thank you for joining to another episode of Decoding Oblivion. Today I'm joined by Loïs Guilhou, and Head of Sales at Geonimo, and Pierre-Louis Jérôme, the co-founder of Geonimo. Really excited to have you both. Thank you so much for joining.
With pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us, Eva.
Awesome. To give a little bit more background on what exactly we're going to cover today to the audience, we have heard a lot currently about GEO, AEO, SEO. Things are changing very quickly when it comes to AI visibility. And we have seen that overall AI-referred web sessions jumped over 500% year over year in 2025. I don't even want to check how it is for 2026. People are no longer just Googling. We've seen people asking ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude for recommendations, product comparisons, buying decisions, and more. Now, I have heard, and I already know very well your brand, just want to hear a little bit more from you, starting with you, Pierre. For someone that is still focused on traditional SEO, what has actually shifted the past, I don't know, let's say 6 months?
Yeah, that's a good introduction for the people who are wondering what is shifting at the moment. And what fundamentally changed is not really search, it's more decision making. So let's say search used to be about exploring options, right? Now everything is about collapsing the entire journey into a single answer. So on Google, you compete to be clicked. That's a fact. And on AI, you compete to be chosen. So this is already happening now. And we're seeing that close to half of users now prefer AI interface. It can be for e-com when you're buying a product or looking for whatever, prefer AI interfaces over traditional search for information. So if your company is not in that answer, you're just not losing traffic, but literally you're losing the decision itself. Mm-hmm. And what's really striking in how deep AI goes in the journey is more than half of the users rely on AI to learn about a category. Around 2/3 use it to compare options, and over 60% of them use it as the decision stage. So AI isn't just not the discover layer anymore, that it was maybe in the last few years. It's really becoming the decision engine. And if I can add up to put a bit more perspective also, because you're talking about SEO, GEO, potentially also AEO. People might have heard about that. I tried to make a simple comparison. SEO is about ranking. AEO is about answering, so the content, and GEO is about being selected. So that's the most important part. So SEO gives you visibility. GEO will gives you influence. And AEO, any good tool doing GEO should be doing AEO because it's all about what is the content. So AEO is all about the content and GEO is all about giving the influence you need to be mentioned in AIs. So when one answer replaces 10 links, influence is what drives outcome today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds great. And thank you for clarifying a little bit more because we do use these terms. We're not all of us, especially marketers, sure exactly how they are kind of interacting with each other. So it's pretty clear exactly how you stated it. Now, going back to the product recommendation part, right? When someone asks ChatGPT Claude for product recommendations, what is happening behind the scenes? Getting a bit more technical here. What does an AI decide who to mention and who to ignore, for example?
Yes. I'll try to make it simple. And so AI doesn't rank pages as like Google. So it reconstructs an answer from multiple signal. So when someone asks a question, it combines patterns from its training data, real-time retrieved content in some cases, and a consensus across multiple sources. So instead of ranking pages, it literally builds a synthesized answer. So the key point is it will only mention what it considers reliable and easy to reuse. Everything else is just totally ignored. So the game is not just to exist online, it's really to exist in a way that can be picked up and recomposed. So here I'm trying to just like keep it simple, because after that there is like a lot of things about patterns, the sources used by LLMs. It can differ like regarding the topics, but in some simple words, that's how AIs or LLMs are just like looking for answers and your answers on AIs.
That sounds awesome. And thank you for clarifying. Now, when it comes to the market perspective, Loïs, when you first started talking to brands and agencies about this problem specifically, what was their reaction? Were most people aware that their brand was invisible in AI search?
So basically, when I first spoke to brands and agency, typical reaction is curiosity. So they are curiosity because most of them, they didn't consider AI search as a separate channel. And they assume like a strong SEO can cover everything by default. I talk with like to come a bit in the Web3 space to like the biggest exchanges in France and international, and most of them are not monitoring their AI visibility. And I was quite surprised that it was not on their radar. So most of them is curiosity, and they really for the moment it's not on their radar. So I was really impressed that big exchanges, big company from the Web3 industry were not looking at this at all and not monitoring it. So I believe there is a huge gap to be covered on this point.
Yeah, makes sense. And as you said, it's surprising that even companies that are very technical, they're not necessarily interested, or they're just curious, but they're not necessarily taking steps towards this concept.
Clearly, when we launched Geonimo, I was like thinking like these biggest brands already like get into this. But with my Web3 background, I get some contact in the industry, and finally I discovered that no, they are not monitoring anything. That give like a huge gap to cover for this kind of brands. And you can see like some big difference between the exchanges on the AI answers. So most of them, they are super curious. They want to know more. But it's not on their radar yet. And you have to make them understand that, it's super important because people aren't going to take the decision thanks to AI. And the conversion rate also, it's much bigger than when they just run on Google.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Pierre, you spent 6 years in the e-com data analytics industry, and you co-founded Geonimo. Just want to understand from your perspective and your current experience, what made you decide to build Geonimo, and what was the moment that made you feel like this is an urgent problem to solve?
Yeah. And again, this is a good question. After 6 years in like the income industry, especially in data analytics, I realized a bit like Loïs with the Web3 industry, I was more into the e-commerce part of things. And I was realizing that brands were spending a lot on ads and actually all still relying a lot on ads, traffic, etc. And I was realizing that, the market share that you can grab from LLMs, as now you have like 60 to 80% of people that are using AI within their buying process. So it's huge, and they were not monitoring it. So I was like, okay, I think there is something to be done here. So the realization was pretty brutal. Companies overall are still optimizing for traffic, while the decision has already moved somewhere else, in LLMs. And the progression, as you were saying, we have some numbers for 2025. We have the number of 2024, but we don't have still the number of 2026, but it's going to be like crazy. It's not going to slow down. So AI is becoming the new entry point to the internet. I know it sounds big like this, but it's the case, and yet most companies have zero, but like literally zero visibility on whether they're even part of that layer. So you can dominate SEO. That's a fact, and be completely absent from AI answers. And we're seeing that with the companies we're working with. So we built Geonimo to answer a very simple question. Is like, are you part of the answer, or are you just like simply invisible? And how do you act on that to make it change? So that's kind of why we built Geonimo in a few words.
Yeah, timing was also great. I believe you are right on the time. Like, you already have the platform ready. A lot of people are catching up right now, but you already have a platform ready to use, which is great. Now, Loïs, from a sales perspective, who was the first type of customer that really got it immediately, that you spoke to them and they're like, okay, we need to solve this. Let's do it.
So as I come from the Web3 industry, I get a lot of contact in this industry. So most of our early customers were from that space, but also from the e-commerce space. I think those two industries, the ones that understand directly the power of monitoring the AI visibility on this. So most of them, they were comfortable with technology, so they can pick up and use the tool like very quickly. Most of them were not like super familiar with this, but yeah, we just do an intro call with them. We show the platform, we show how to use it, and yeah, people from the Web3, people from the e-commerce, they can really understand it directly and they can manage it alone. Some people more from like local business, we need to get like more. We need to help them more into the process of using the tool. But yeah, people from the Web3, people from the e-commerce, they are used to technology and they are quite easy to get in.
But if I can add on that also, maybe on the product, because it reminds me something more about the product vision. And as Loïs was telling something very interesting, we want like anyone who has like a company making a business and who needs visibility anywhere to have something that where they can do everything. They can do like passive monitoring, but also active piloting. So we're doing like 3 layers, let's say, which is measurement, is like, do you show up? Then understanding, why do you show up or not? And then action is like, what do you need to do to change, to get selected, because this is today not a reporting problem. It's like an execution problem that people have in general. So in terms of positioning, it's just not a brand problem. This is availability problem for any company that relies on discovery and recommendation. So whether you're selling, we're talking about Web3 and e-com, but whether you're selling products, software, services, financial tools, if you're not part of the AI answers, you're not part of the market anymore. That might sound like a bit harsh, but the thing is, like, if you're not kind of catching the train now, it can be just like harder just to get into that train later. A bit like SEO. If you go back 20 years ago, if you were just like starting to be, good at SEO, you had like a moment where it was just like heaven for you. So, and then of course with SEO, you need to pay a lot. Everything can be bought, obviously. With the AI, the good thing is like at the moment, nothing can be bought. So, everyone got a chance here. So yeah, just wanted to add that on kind of the positioning and the vision.
Like the beginning of SEO basically, or the beginning of even ads. Like now we have ChatGPT ads, for example. It's like the beginning of Google ads. It was a little bit different and much more affordable as well.
But with an adoption that is not the same, like the adoption of AI, you look at 2 years, the adoption of internet was not slow, but it was taking the time, we thought it was quick, but now when you're seeing the adoption of AI, it's not quick. Quick is not even a word, it's just like crazy.
So
yeah, we need to be quick, or people need to be quick at least.
I couldn't agree more. Would love to see, this was a great explanation. Would love to see a little bit more, if you can walk us through Geonimo and share a little bit more how it works, or how the platform looks. And when you, for example, showcase this, or how you would showcase this to a brand, walk them through the database and also info that they can get using Geonimo.
So basically, the question here is like how the app work. So what we're tracking. So basically, we simulate real user behavior at scale. So prompts like best CRM for startups, which crypto platform the safest, best running shoes for e-com, for example. So this applies to e-com brands, SaaS companies, crypto platform, B2B services, basically any company that needs to be discovered and chosen. So for each answer, we don't just observe. We break it down. We analyze which companies appear, how often across prompts, their position inside the answer, the sentiment, and the exact sources used by the model. So, but they keep difference. But the key difference is what we do with that. We don't stop at monitoring. So we run pattern analysis across thousands of prompts to detect which sources are repeatedly used by AI systems, which formats are consistently extracted, and which narrative are statistically more likely to be picked up. So we're not guessing. We're modeling how the system behaves. And from there, we generate concrete prioritized actions. So which pages need to be rewritten and how, which external sources you need to appear in, which formats increase your probability of being cited, where the competitors structurally outperform you. So this is not like really, as I was saying before, a passive tool. It's a decision and execution later. So you understand why you're not selected and exactly what to change to be included. So because what matters is not ranking anymore, or not simply ranking anymore. It's inclusion in the answer. So maybe I will just like put a few more words also about AI Suitability Score, because you have a Suitability Score. So this score measures how easy it is for an AI to pick you and reuse you. And that's really important because it combines your presence across key ecosystems, how structured and clear your content is, and how consistent your signal is. In simple terms, it's like, are you ready to trust, easy to extract, and easy to recommend? And that's the real purpose of like using a tool such as Geonimo to make sure you're going to be visible. And from there, I've got a lot of people talking about AI traffic, revenue, which is ultimately the end goal, make more revenue. The answer to that is one of the biggest misconceptions today with GEO is still thinking in terms of traffic. AI is compressing the journey, and just for you to know, 94% of AI users stayed within AI. People in the LLMs tend to just like keep people within AI and don't want people just to go outside or click on links. So real traffic is not important anymore. It's really about like what is the evolution of the traffic. So we'll keep an eye. For example, at Geonimo, we have our own pixel with the traffic. We're excluding bot crawls. We're really seeing like unique sessions, but we won't care about like the number of unique sessions, but more the percentage of evolution of that sessions, because that will give you insight if it's working or not. But so traffic today is like kind of an old metric to follow, especially with AI. So entire decision now happen inside one interaction. So which means fewer clicks, fewer touch points, and much stronger influence. So if you're only measuring traffic, you're missing where the value is actually created. So that's in a few words.
Thanks for mentioning also about the specifically for the traffic. I think it makes a lot of sense to touch on how usually platforms can detect this type of AI bodied traffic. I think that will get more and more complicated considering that we have AI agents at the moment taking decisions in the background. Now, this is directed to both of you. You cover multi-brand and multi-market clients on the same platform. What does the complexity look like at that scale? So compared to a small Web3 projects or crypto project or a large corporation? Or
I can jump on this one also. Is what makes the multi-market complex is that there is no single reality today. The same prompt can be generated completely different answer, can generate completely different answer depending on multiple factors. So the country, the language, the ecosystem. So same request, same prompt, but like so many different answers regarding the server's country, etc. So you're not managing one visibility layer. You're managing multiple parallel realities. That might sound like a bit crazy, but it's a truth. It can ask the same thing, but like the AIs won't look at the same data within just depending on the country or even the city you are at. So you're managing multiple parallel realities, and your position can change drastically from one to another. So that's why it's really important to have this multi-market vision. And that can be for anyone also. I don't know, I'm taking a crypto platform. If they're trying to just acquire some market shares in the US, but then in England and in Germany, you might have some different actors on all those geographical positions. So it's really important to be able to recreate the behaviors on all these different points, because the LLMs won't take the same sources. So you'll have different sources for different countries where you will want to be mentioned. So that's very important. So That might sound complex, but we built a whole structure for a same brain to be able to monitor all their different markets with the same number of prompts and to dive really deep into like also what is their product visibility. So we're not just working on the brand visibility, we're working also on the product visibility. I know a crypto platform, for example, you've got Spot, you can do leverage trading, which is another product. So you might want to do like how you're doing as a crypto platform. Are you being mentioned versus your competitors? But also on the product level, because some people might ask, for example, okay, where can I do like the best leverage trading? But maybe it's not going to be the same answer as like, what's the best crypto platform, you see? So you really want to be mentioned as at the product level, at a brand level, and that on all the different countries, markets you're on, So we built Geonimo to be able to just like have the global structure and have an eye on literally everything that is happening about your brand or your products.
Yeah. And how about what the client is asking? Maybe, Loïs, drawing back to what you see daily across clients while you have demos, when you audit, for example, a brand for the first time, what does their situation usually look like and what surprises them the most from the data that you show them?
Oh yeah, the situation of course depends of the company, and we can see really some different situation. People who are already well ranked, but they are really well ranked in some categories of prompt, but not in another one. Some that are not visible at all. So yeah, the situation is really depending of the company. But what I was really surprised is like, first of all, they are not monitoring anything. They are really like completely blind on where they are visible or not visible. So this is really what I was really surprised. And people, what they are really interested in the tools is to be able also to categorize the prompt. So after you can be able to have an overview visibility on your product side, on your brand side. But you can imagine on the exchange part, imagine you can categorize the prompts for leverage, categorize the prompt for spot, and you have like, I don't know, 25 prompt for spot, 25 prompt for leverage. And after you can really understand where you're good and where you are not good. And yeah, most of them, people, they are really good in one subject, but they are completely forgetting the other ones. And you can see that on like maybe 100 prompts, most of the people, they're going to be visible in 25%, and there is still 75% they are not visible. So this is what I was really surprised, is to see that, big companies and also small ones, they have like 25% of visibility on the prompt we are targeting.
Yeah, that's pretty low. I mean, it makes sense because we just started, but at the same time, it's pretty low. And what is a common pattern when brands take action and they start seeing results? Like, what is the most common pattern in the types of brands that see results fastest? What do they usually have in common?
So the one that is get results fast, they have a team that can be able to gather all the information and do the operational part. Of course, we can help also on this. We can also give like our a team that can work on the operational part, but it's something else. But for the companies that are really succeeding, it's people who have already a team inside their marketing teams that can take care of this and that can have time to be able to do some operational content. We have also like a Geo Copilot on the platform, so it's an AI that is linked to your data, and you can be able to ask all the questions you want to this AI in order to give you all the information you need. And people who succeed well also is people who are able to get the right question to this Geo Copilot and be able to gather the best information on this. So people who really succeed is people who have time to do the operational part, understand the tool, and of course after get the right question to Geo Copilot to be able to get the best recommendations. We give recommendation directly, but when you start talking to the Geo Copilot that is linked to your data, is really providing you some insight that are really interesting, what your competitors are doing better than you, what kind of sources that are being used for your competitors and not for you, what are the kind of articles that are working for your competitors and not for you. So people who can be able to be a bit clever and smart about how they're going to approach this are the ones that succeed better.
So Pierre, when it comes to the content and strategy, how is writing for AI Suitability different from writing for Google? What does it actually require in practice?
Okay, yeah, I love that question because it's true that when we're meeting a lot of people doing SEO, they're like, geo is not a thing, etc. But actually, it's a tricky part because a lot of content that performs well in SEO actually performs pretty poorly with AI, because basically SEO content is designed to rank and get clicks, while AI content needs to be extracted and reused. So SEO often pushes towards longer content, keyword coverage, more indirect phrasing, whereas AI prefers direct answers, self-contained information, very explicit positioning. So if your content is too implicit or verbose, AI will either ignore it or only use fragments of it. So the shift is not about producing more content. It's about making your content usable by the system. And I'm going to go a bit deeper on that. So we were talking about AEO. AEO is like how to create some content that is like kind of AI friendly. So we've got generators, and how it works is like we're going to take all the patterns of the sources used by AI about a category to kind of create some content that will look like it, in terms of structure. Because from a category to another, imagine you're selling swimsuits or you're a crypto platform, maybe the sources that will be used won't have the same patterns in terms of structure, etc. So content will be generated regarding the patterns of what is going to be used as the sources to define your category. Now to go deeper on SEO versus geo conflict. There can be some tension. Yes, that's true, between both. Because SEO has historically pushed towards volume and optimization, while AI and obviously people paid a lot to get like good SEO. So, sometimes people are a bit afraid of just jumping into something else because they say like, we spent so much doing that and so many years doing that they don't want to just break anything. So let's say a page can rank very well on Google, and still be hard for an AI to use. But it's not a contradiction. Obviously, the right approach is to adapt existing content, not replace it. So, for example, adding clear summaries, making positioning explicit, or structuring content so it can be easily extracted. So you keep your SEO performance, but you also make the content usable for AI. So it's not SEO versus geo. I think it's kind of a fake conflict here. It's more SEO with an additional layer, because we don't want to just like, as I said, say someone that has spent hundreds of thousands. We've got some brands that spend millions in SEO for the last few years, and you can't be like, hey, you know what, SEO is not working, geo is the new thing. So it's just like an additional layer, a new layer. So we're saying additional at the moment, but I believe in a few years we'll say that SEO is an additional layer of geo. That might be a fact, but it's a fake conflict. It's just two different approaches, and one is not killing another.
Got it. So it's more of a combination of both. And how should marketers think about balancing both?
At the moment, this is another great question. It is like, and I'm coming back to the traffic question. A lot of people say like, geo is not the thing. We don't have a lot of traffic coming from AI. So people tend to think, let's continue SEO because I'm just paying for ads and paying for SEO. It's representing 95% of my traffic. But that's not true, because we know that 94% of people are not redirected to websites using AI. So the part of like people that knew your brand thanks to AI and then that receive an ads or just like search on Google is just like, it's way bigger than that. So I would tend to say to people and marketers and even like SEO teams is just like, forget about traffic and think really about influence. So do an audit, just go for it, see how visible you are. And knowing that 60 to 90 to 80% of people that are using AI in their buying process for B2B SaaS, for crypto platforms or whatever, if you're not visible, it means that potentially the share of recommendation is really low and you're missing out like a lot of traction and potentially a lot of revenue. So for people that are just looking at traffic numbers, etc., I would rather tell them, go do an audit, see if you're visible or not. And if you're not, we can do like kind of a quick calculation of what can be missing in terms of revenue as of 2025 numbers, So that's what I would say to marketers at the moment.
And now there are certain brands that are recommended more than others. And I'm always wondering, is there a concept of winner takes it all, or will there be room for multiple brands to appear in the same answer?
Yeah, good question. Because in the case of a winner takes all, we couldn't sell to like a lot of people, and it's kind of open for anyone. So it's not pure winner takes all, but it's extremely concentrated. That's for sure. So most answer include a very limited set of companies. So if you're not included, you're effectively invisible. But it really depends of like also how you want to work on that. So I would jump on something on like opportunity for smaller companies, because as Loïs was saying, we're seeing now that sometimes it's getting really crazy because AI doesn't reward size; it rewards signal quality. So the thing is, like, if you understand where to be present, how to structure your content, and how to influence the right sources, you can gain visibility much faster than in traditional SEO. So this is one of the first channels where small players can realistically compete with on equal footing. So if your business depends on being discovered, compared, or recommended, this concerns you. We're seeing some small brands. I was doing an example for one of our customer, and we're seeing that. Yeah, I was talking about swimsuits, and it was a swim brand doing swimwear, and we were seeing like on the top 5 brands that were recommended on the consensus of prompt that we have been created. So 100 prompts. We're taking like the 5 brands that were like most mentioned. Out of them, 4 big players. That's normal. We're at the beginning, so a lot of content across. And then there was one player. Literally, we're competing with the brands that are doing like hundreds of millions of GMV, hundreds of millions of revenue a year. There was this brand doing literally 2.5 million a year. So it was literally like 25x less than the other ones. But just because they were mentioned, Reddit, subreddit, blog article, and I don't think they've been working on that. It's just they're present and they have some content that is readable. So it's literally open to anyone to get mentioned. You see what I mean? And again, on different service, different country, different markets. So wherever. So opportunities are just huge for smaller brands. When I'm saying smaller, I'd say like 2.5 million is a nice brand, but even smaller, I know you can be doing today 200K a year, but the thing is, like, if you're present on the internet, have good reviews, getting recommended, a lot of articles, why not? You see? And so actually GEO, if you're just like having a great GEO strategy, it can be a game changer for you because of course you're doing 500K a year. To having just how to compete on SEO with brands that are just like spending millions a year on SEO, it's impossible. Let's be honest, it's impossible. You can pay some ads, but you're going to kill some brands. So for like smaller brands, smaller platforms, smaller just businesses, GEO is like an open door to just like have a huge growth without having to pay like what like the larger brands and companies are paying in SEO.
Yeah, I
And
think
just to
Yeah,
add
sorry.
on something on this, I have some brands I am working with that are not the biggest brands on the prompt they were monitoring. And during like they made like a good work, and within a day they were appearing on the answers. So sometimes the result can be super fast. If you make the right operational content, the right operational task in one day, they were appearing in the answer. So sometimes the reason can be really fast also, because AI is always evolving. They are always searching for new sources, and when you make the job, the results can be really fast.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of competition or competitive element here that we see the angle of smaller brands being able to use this opportunity. We're still in the very beginning, so it's a great time to, as you said, be competitive even with like much larger brands without having to spend also too much, which is super rare. It's a nice window of opportunity for small brands.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
And Luis, when it comes to competitors tracking visibility alongside your clients, are any patterns across industries, or are some spaces already locked up in AI search while others are still wide open?
So I really don't believe there is nothing locked up. As I was saying, AI is always evolving. That's why it's important also to monitor it during the time. if you're monitoring like just in a D-Day and after you don't see it at all, you're gonna have a clear view of the competition and all the data for one day. But yeah, the data is always evolving. AI is always evolving. So in fact, you can you can not be appearing one day and you make the job and you appear another day. But yeah, after the sources of AI can change. So yeah, that's why it's also important to monitor it during during all the year to see the evolution of this. So nothing is locked up with AI because it's always evolving. And yeah, there is no some clear pattern. Some top brands are extremely visible, but some top brands are not at all. So yeah, there is not really like a clear pattern for this.
Yeah, that's good. So we're still, I guess
Yeah, there
everyone's
is
figuring
really,
it out.
yeah, clearly, and there is some really, as we just talked before, there is some, yeah, big opportunities for smaller brands to take a piece of the cake, I would say, comparing to the biggest competitors they can have with AI, as they're making the right job. If they take in advance on these big brands, they can, yeah, really get some competition shares rapidly, and yeah, it's a really it's a super tool for smaller brands that want to compete with bigger ones.
And Luis, for a marketer who has never audited their AI search presence, like they have no idea what's happening, basically. Where do you think they should start this week?
So what they should start? So first of all, they need to understand where they are visible, where they are not. They need to understand what the competitors is doing. They need to understand what the source is. So the goal is to have like a big overview. So when you have the big overview, after you can be able to get some action. But if you don't have this overview, of course you are not. So first of all, the best is to understand what are the best prompts for you to target on. Because if you are not targeting the right prompts, you're not going to have the right data. So really be able to understand the right prompts you want. We are also helping on this. So when you have on Geonimo, we generate the best prompt for your project. And afterwards, and when you have all the data, you can check all the sources for the prompts you are not visible. You can see what the competitors are doing. You can inspire yourself from this kind of article they are doing, where they are visible. We also give directly on the app some the BSPR opportunities, so where you need to put your PR actions. So sometimes you don't know where you want to put your money on to be visible. Some media and everything. But yeah, within the app, you have directly the best PR opportunities that gonna give you the best visibility on AI. So yeah, when you start, just get get the action and get the 100 best prompts you want to target. So really be focused on this. And after, yeah, check the sources, check the competitors, check all the recommendation on the platform, do some partnership with me at the best media that we discover for you and for your business. And yeah, that's it. I think it's a great start just to know where you are and where you need to be visible and what kind of action you need to do.
To jump on that also, I think it's great. And really the purpose within the week is like see where you are and get an action plan, because within the week, change everything. We had some example, as Loïs was saying, on some brands that were appearing after a day, it can happen, but obviously during a week, we want to really make sure that they understand how important it is, like where are the competitors, and also like really put an action plan in place, because we want people with Geonimo to really see the potential of like, okay, we will assist you doing this. It's not just passive monitoring. Oh, I see there, I have my competitor here. AI is evolving all the time. Sources are changing. For the same prompts, like AIs can use a totally different source from a month to another, for example. So I'm not saying that you need to check sources every day and be totally crazy, you see, because of course it will like always keep a big part of the sources. But for some of them, and can be some important ones, it can change every month. So you need to always just like be diving into like what are like the most used sources, where to act, how to act. And this is what we offer at Geonimo. It's like a real action plan. You have automated, generated recommendations for your pages of your website to get more suitable, recommended, readable, etc. But also like what to do on a more like broader scale about, geo. Like we're seeing like, okay, you've got a warning here. We're seeing that that competitor is doing that really well and you're not. This is what you're doing well, but your competitors are starting just to keep up with your pace about this. So you might be good now, but if your competitor is starting to be like better and better every week, in a few weeks you will be out. So just focus on what you could change that others are doing well and you're not doing at all. So we're always like doing a real-time analysis of what competitors are doing, what are the sources mentioning. And so we're giving like real fine-tuned every week automated recommendation of what to do, you see? So it's not only like, okay, I'm good, I'm fine, or I'm not good, I'm trying to do. We're giving you all the strings to pull, like on a weekly basis, based on the data analytics we're doing, to just give you the right things to do, obviously.
Got you. Yeah. So adaptability, I guess it's key here. And I guess moving also fast, not thinking about it, planning about it, getting approvals about it, instead moving quickly. It's key for all types of, it's a mindset for all types of tech, but definitely for when it comes to traditional SEO, moving into AEO and GEO. And when it comes to the products, right, what's coming next for Geonimo on the product side?
Yeah, good question. So some exciting stuff, of course. So we're already a very complete platform for anyone. Like could be, $1 billion brand or just only a few $1 million brands. So it's it's tricky. And I'm going to add something here. It's like we're seeing a lot of people asking us, they saw, oh, do you have this and do you have that? And when we're asking about, is it relevant for your business or is it something accurate or is it something you need at the AI era? You got a lot of tools like offering thousands of features and like 95% of them are just like useless for your business. But people are still asking, are you doing this and this and this? So, now it's so easy to create a tool, to create a feature. It can take 2 seconds. Now the real fight is having the most accurate and useful feature within one place, so you don't lose time and you don't get lost in like these kind of apps where you have thousands of features. So I just want to emphasize that, because this is why we're getting like a lot of big customers, because we have the right features for the right people that are being usable by anyone and that are relevant for their business. So of course we have some stuff, but I wanted to emphasize on that because I think it's really important, especially now that you go on internet, you can find like tools for whatever you want to do, but having some really precise tool, I think is really hard. And this is why we're our customer are just like choosing us most of the time. It's just to have something usable on a daily basis and that is just like accurate. Still, I'm going to answer your question now. So what's coming next for us is pushing more deeper into actions and execution. So one big focus is marketplaces at the moment. So imagine you're a brand, as I was saying, selling multiple, your platform, selling multiple brands or selling multiple products. Can be crypto platform, as I was saying, multiple products. The key question becomes, which products or brands should you push? So to maximize your chance of being recommended as the best option. So we're building feature to help like platforms or even marketplaces in e-commerce understand how to position themselves as the preferred reseller inside AI Answer or as the best doer of a certain product, as I was saying earlier, because people might not look for a crypto platform, but might be looking for something more specific that is one of your product. So you want to be mentioned there. It's really important. So we're building this feature to help understand and how to position themselves as the best in their category. Second big focus is our GEO AI Copilot. Loïs was talking about it a bit earlier. Today, it already helps translate monitoring into recommendation. What we're building next is more turning into a true action layer, something that just doesn't tell you what to do with recommendation, which is already great. We're only a few doing that, and I think we're kind of the most advanced one in terms of recommendations from what our customers said, and we know that we got like large customer that been using other tools before, so it's pretty great for us, some good feedback. So something that will help execute it. So generating content, we're doing that, but we want to just like push the cursor a bit further, guiding distribution and acting on the exact patterns we detect. So the goal is very simple: move from insight to decision and to execution, all inside the sales system. So that's the vision for the product in the next months, of course, in the next years. We'll see, but we'll have plenty of stuff to
You
do.
cannot plan ahead that much, right? When it comes to AI, you have to maybe plan the next quarter, maybe the
And
next 6 months. That's it.
yeah, and just to add on something on this, as I know that there is a lot of people who have AI agents that are listening us, we also build something for AI agents that can go directly on Geonimo and get a request. So you don't need to get like a subscribe, but you can get a request just for AI agent, and you get a request directly. So we can be able to be linked to AI agents, and if they need a request, they get a request for an amount of price that is much cheaper than a big subscription that you're gonna monitor every day. So we are building these features that I believe it's really important because a lot of people are using AI agent for their business, and they can AI agent can interact directly with the dashboards and get like direct data when they need it. So it's really on demand, and AI agent arrive, they pay, they get the data, and they go out. So this is something that we are building for all the people who are using AI agent also.
That sounds awesome. Now we know how your AI agents can find you. How about people? How can they find you and how they can get started on the Geonimo platform, Loïs?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Loïs Guilhou. You can go also on the Geonimo website. You can be able to get started by signing up, and we have a free trial of 7 days that you can use to understand the product. You can also book a call with us that we can make a free audit for you and run the tool for you to understand. To make all the explications that you are not lost. But if you are familiar with like tech, you can just go in. You have 1 week free that you can test the product. The best way to find us is directly on geonimo.com or directly on my LinkedIn, Loïs Guilhou. You can just reach out and get book a call with me, and I would be super enthusiastic to run you on the tool and showcase you how it's important for you to use this kind of tool for your business.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, both. This was a very, very insightful episode to understand a bit better, not only how Geonimo works, but generally how the future of SEO will look like a little bit closer, like a closer look on what's coming for most brands. Thank you so much, Pierre and Loïs, for joining us today and for giving us a bit more kind of a closer look of how Geonimo works. Really excited to follow up with you in the future and see what else you're going to build. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, the Match team.
Thank you for listening to Decoding Oblivion. If this episode sparked any thoughts or questions, feel free to share them in the comments. I'm Eva, your host, and this was Decoding Oblivion.